Hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Drew, and welcome to ReadyBudgetGo. If this isn't your first visit, welcome back. It's good to see you again. This is the weekly reel where I share my real budgeting numbers, my real triumphs, my real mistakes. And this week, I spent money like it was my birthday, because it was. I spent way more than I thought I would. I also brought in more than I thought I would, but not enough to make up the difference. But I will show you all of my earning and all of my spending as my budget for January falls apart. Stay tuned. First up, I need to do a cash dump, and this is probably going to be the most painless part of the weekly review. So let me put the budget aside for just a moment and take out all the cash that I have left over from this week. I have a whopping 4 pennies again. So I haven't been getting a whole lot in change lately because when I go out to lunch, now that I'm work from home, it costs me usually $10.98. So I get 2 pennies back for each day, so I went 2 days. So that is going to go in here, along with all the other loose change. And the plan for what I'm going to do with that is now still evolving. Okay, then I need to open up the pouch that has the weekly money in it. And I have $25, $26, $27, $28 left, which adds up, right? So I spent $10.98, or almost $11 twice, so $22 from the 50 that I started with leaves 28. So that is going to go into here, along with everything that is already in here already. And yes. So far this month, I have not spent 20, 40, 5, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $56. And this will be going into the Pirate Challenge, which is a collab that I am part of. Those videos come out on Thursdays. The second video came out yesterday from when I am putting this video up. So if you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch it. Okay, so now I need to take out $50 for next week. So there's 50. I've got 2 more weeks in here, 50 and 50, because there are 5 Fridays in January, and my budget weeks run from Friday through Thursday. So this goes into the spending pouch for next week. And that is it for the cash. So let me put this out of the way. And let's jump into the budget and look and see what all happened. So my birthday was on Sunday, and I didn't plan for it because I frankly forgot. I didn't forget that when my birthday was, but I forgot to set aside any money for it. So I didn't go crazy, but there is a transaction in here that is pure birthday indulgence, and it's not very much money, and I don't regret it. So I'm not going to go over my goals just now, except to say things are a-changin'. So I did get my relocation approved, which means that the big move is probably never going to be fully funded at $15,000, and I just have to be okay with that. I said a long time ago that this is so important to me that I would take on credit card debt if I had to make this happen. So I would have liked to have had more money in the kitty. I've got a pretty sizable chunk already. And so I'll talk more about how that money is moving around when we get to that section. But before we get there, and speaking of the big move, I do have an expense tracker. And the reason why I'm tracking all of the expenses for this is because I need to transfer the money out of my savings account, out of the high yield, into my checking account to repay the credit cards that's paying for all these expenses. So far this week, I spent money at United Airlines, American Airlines twice, Chase Travel, and McDonald's twice. So let me explain each of these. So these first 3 transactions, I am attending a sales meeting with my company next month, and I'm flying from that sales meeting to Ohio, where I am going to be sort of scoping out the lay of the land and places where I might like to live. So the reason that I'm doing that is because it saves me a flight segment. So I have to go to Texas anyway, so I might as well, while I'm out, go up to Ohio on my way back, rather than flying from here to Texas and then home and then out to Ohio and home. So That's how I chose to do it. So I am flying to Ohio, and that is one of these. I first booked a ticket on miles, and then I upgraded my seat. So that is why there's two charges here for American. And then the other one is my flight home. So different airline because it is cheaper to do it that way. Okay, and then Chase Travel, this is actually for the hotel. Now, I've said on this channel before that I don't pay for hotels, and that's normally the case. I use my travel rewards and redeem those for usually points at Hyatt because that's where I get the most bang for the buck. But there's no Hyatts where I'm going. So I needed to book a hotel a different way, and I get a $250 statement credit when I book through Chase Travel, and that's actually more cost effective than redeeming points anyway. So it all worked out. So $523.82. I will get 250 of this back, and I will account for that when it shows up on the statement because that will be part of, that's going to go back into the fund for the big move. And then McDonald's twice. Now, the reason why this is going into the big move is because this week was so busy with booking all this travel, because I first had to figure out the business travel. Then I had to figure out the personal travel, which airport, which hotel, all the transportation logistics, and that was stressful. I was on the phone and online with airlines and hotels and reservation agents for over 3 hours at one point during the week. And so that is why Mickey D's. I just did not have the time or energy to cook, so went and got fast food. So that is that story there. And this will continue to fill in as I have more expenses. I probably won't have a whole lot more between now and when I actually go to Ohio. But if I do, I will record them here and share them here in the weekly reel. Okay, so let's move on to the regular budget. And everything that happened this week is highlighted in yellow. So I got my first paycheck, and it was higher than what I budgeted, and I kind of figured that it would be. However, we have a problem. So this should have been $75 lower. The HR department did not factor in my contributions to the FSA this year, which are $1,800 for the year, and I'm paid twice a month, so that should be $75 a paycheck that's going toward that. So because that was not factored in, this was $75 over where it should be. So I think the next paycheck will be short, but we'll see. They're still working on that. Today, the 15th, as I'm filming this, was payday, so I just noticed it and reported it today. So it might take a while for that to get sorted out. Down here, YouTube Premium came out for $16 as expected. Amazon Prime came out $154 as expected. That's my annual subscription. And that was it for the bills. I did get another EOB for something. I don't know exactly what, for medical, but I have everything accounted for here, so I don't know why I got another EOB. I haven't even looked at it yet, but I will. Okay, wallet spending, a whopping $395.74. Now, that does not include any of the spending for the big move, and that also does not, how do I put this? Well, it includes all the spending for the week, and it also includes spending that I brought forward from next week. So I'll explain when we get to the detail page on that. Stockpiles, $254. That was what went toward the emergency fund. And then savings and extra debt, this is sinking funds, $100. Now, I am putting more than $100 into my sinking funds. If you've been watching Ready Budget Game, then you'll see that I've had to pull in a few extra dollars both weeks. But I'm only recording it as $100 because that is coming out of money that has already been accounted for. So that is leftover money from, what comes out of my weekly allowance, whatever the $50 I don't spend. So that's where those extra few dollars have come from. So I've already written those down as a sunk cost in the week that I had that $50. So that's why I'm not accounting for it again here. And then totals we don't do till the end of the month. So next page, we won't talk about cash allocation because I've already had to redo this once. And that is just where all of the money that I'm setting aside each month is going. Cash flow. So here is the paycheck, $3,125.22 was the actual amount. I round everything on the budget overview. And then all of these outbound transactions, these are all credit card payments. So this credit card had the IRS on it. This credit card has grocery shopping and prescriptions on it. This card has, what does this have on it? This has YouTube Premium. It has anything from Apple, and I can't remember what all else. This one is one of the travel cards, and I get a $25 statement credit each month for restaurants. So I spent a little more than $25, and that was the difference. So I paid that. And then this one also has restaurants, and it also has groceries, and it has fast food because I get 5% cash back with that card on fast food. Okay, next page. Monthly expenses. So this week, only 7 transactions, including the cash, so not as bad as last week, but I spent more money than I did last week. And here's how it broke down. 9th and the 11th, McDonald's had a bad fast food habit this week. Costco, $189, almost $190 for food. Now, some of that, I mean, obviously I wasn't eating all of that in 1 week. Well, I don't know if that is obvious or not, but some of this is food that I intended to eat this week, but is going to roll over into next week, plus what I already had planned for next week. So I shouldn't have to buy too much more for this week, because especially since I already made another grocery trip. So I'll come to that in a minute. Safeway, this was supplemental. I was needing ground turkey, frozen onions, and I don't know, a few other things. So $27 there. Here is the birthday spend, $18.73 is what it is. $90 at Target. I did that because I needed painkillers. So I wrenched my back the other day and it really hurt. It's getting better. But I needed some painkillers and I could barely move, so I had them delivered. And because I was doing a Target order, I thought, well, I might as well get the groceries that I need for next week, so $90. So I am anticipating this coming week to be relatively low spend. We'll see, just because everything for this week has kind of been front-loaded one way or another into this last week. And then weekly cash, $50. I always write down 50 no matter how much I spend, because once it's out of the bank account, it is, as far as I'm concerned, accounted for, however it gets spent. So because it's discretionary. All right, next. Let's talk. Oh, I also printed out another page. Now, I don't know if I'm going to need another page for this month, but because there are 5 Fridays and I'm already more than halfway through the first page, just in case I have a second page. Let's talk next about savings. So let me flip over there. I did finally print out a new emergency fund tracker. So this reflects the current reality where I had to take $4,500 out. So we're still on the bottom rung, but it's less money. So we were right about here, and now we're way down here with the way that this is graduated. So we're starting over at $7,700 and going up from there. Now there have been 2 more deposits in here, but because I haven't quite reached the next rung, I have not filled in the next section. But I filled in the bottom to show there is something in there. I'm not starting at total 0. So, okay. Speaking of, let's talk about all that's happened. So I took out the $4,500 on the 2nd, and that's what brought me down to $7,710. And then I've had 2 more weeks after that of the savings challenges, which are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And so week 1 was $252. This week was $254. So those 2 together brought me to $82.16. If you missed my post the other day, I did put up a picture of my Wealthfront account that shows all of the account balances that I have going. So I have the emergency fund, I have both of the funds for the big move, and I have one other that I can't recall right now, but there's 4 in there. Okay, so let's talk next about the blip fund is not moving, so let's skip that. So let's talk about the big move. So $4,100 is the latest because I am up to $825 824, 825 as of this recording. So this is accurate. We are almost there, almost to 1,000 subscribers. If you are new or if you haven't seen one of my videos before, I save $5 for everyone who subscribes, and every time I hit a 10 subscriber milestone, I fill in another bubble and put $50 into the fund that goes toward the big move. So 2 ways to support me on this channel. One is by subscribing, which is always great. I love seeing the comments that I get and how many people find my content useful or entertaining, and that is a big self-confidence boost. So thank you very much for that. And the other way is by shopping on my Etsy shop. So if you purchase anything from me on Etsy, that is what funds all of these deposits. So thank you to those of you who support me over there. Your support really does mean a lot, because this is a big goal of mine that I've had for a long time, and it's starting to come true. So I still kind of can't believe it. So, okay, next up, let's talk about the Big Move books. So there's a withdrawal here. This is not growing currently because I am replenishing the emergency fund, and this goes back to why I'm tracking all of the expenses individually for the big move, because I really don't want to take money out of the big move, send it to my checking account, because this is what I call vaulted money, and vaulted means it's difficult to access. So I don't have my high yield savings directly linked to my checking account. There's actually an intermediary bank that it goes through in order to reach my checking account. So it takes about a week for the transactions to settle, to take money out of my high yield. So what I would rather do is just leave the money in there, and instead of transferring that back to my checking account and then putting money each week back the other direction to go toward the emergency fund, I am taking money out of the big move and putting it toward the emergency fund. Now, why does this number not match the deposit on the emergency fund for this week, which was, where is it? Go back here, past the blip fund. $254, right? That's what I said I was going to save, but I only took $235. And the reason for that is because of interest. So I had taken some of the interest to put toward the big move, rather than transfer more money out of checking, the business checking. And so I had $19 left in interest that I earned in December. So that came off the top of the amount that I needed to take from the big move to put into the emergency fund. So hopefully that makes sense. If it ever gets to a point where I need to take money from high yield to pay the credit card, then I will do that. But otherwise, this makes the most sense for me, just transferring it each week as I'm saving, so that I don't get carried away. It's slow and steady, and replenishing my emergency fund while also keeping an eye on how much I have allocated toward the big move. So that brings me to the end. That was, I know, quite a bit this week, and a lot of new information and a lot of spending. I mean, looking back at the video that I put out in December of my January budget, and I said in that video, I said, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know what my income is going to be. I've got all these question marks about expenses with, especially medical and insurance changing and everything. And then no sooner do we get into January than my boss tells me, oh, by the way, you need to go to Texas for a sales meeting next month. And I'm like, okay, sure. But that opened the door to going to Ohio. And so now I'm suddenly starting to spend money out of the big move that I wasn't really planning on until April. If I were going just from where I live to Ohio, if I were flying there on my own, then I would not do that until April. But because I'm already going to be in that part of the country and I can fly from Texas to Ohio in 2.5 hours, rather than from where I live to Ohio, which honestly takes all day because it's a connecting flight, whereas it's direct from Dallas, then I figure I'm doing what's best, right? So it's really accelerating my time frame, though. I still don't even know what my rent is going to be once my lease expires in early March. I haven't gotten any kind of a renewal notice, and in Washington State, where I live, you have to give 90 days to your tenants to increase their rent. So we'll see what happens there, but it's a lot of uncertainty, but not stress-inducing uncertainty, if that makes sense. It's just not quite knowing where everything is going to slot in just yet. And normally, right, normally this would drive me nuts. It would, not knowing what's going to happen would make me absolutely crazy. But I'm just kind of going with the flow, and I'm totally calm about it. So it's a new feeling for me, and I'm excited and looking forward to this year. And I hope that your year is off to a good start and that things are going your way. So thank you so much again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a thumbs up. A comment down below would be fantastic. I always read them and I always respond. And subscribe if you're new. I'll save $5 toward one of my life goals. And until I see you in the next one, take care.